Hey, welcome to Lady Overlander Radio. Tonight we're speaking with Jon Birkmire of Sunshine State Adventure Company. Stay tuned.
Grab your favorite drink, whether it's a coffee, cocktail, or tea, and get ready. It's Ladies' Night on Lady Overlander Radio.
The Lady Overlander Radio podcast is sponsored by Frontrunner Outfitters, Midland Radio, Go Treads, Sport Keg, CB Adventure Supply, Adventure Trail Outfitters, Overland Spices, and the More Expo. Hey, Arla. Hey, girl. Hey.
Hey, girl. Hey, what's shaking? Where you at?
I don't know. Have you recovered? I am in Arizona, up near the
Still?
north rim of the Grand Canyon. Yeah.
You two heading up to Arizona? Yeah. We just got back from there. Well, I did.
Yeah, well, I was here.
Listen.
So, have you recovered from West yet?
No, I need a sleep-in day. Like this weekend, I'm like, please let me sleep in, please. I'm so tired.
Yeah. We had some long days there, but it was. Yes, I'm still feeling all over, like my poor scalp. That's why I wore a hat today.
I know. Ugh. Let's talk about the freaking weather at Expo. Let's talk about that first. Thursday. First day.
Yeah.
Started out pretty. Turned to, I don't even know what happened. Thunderstorms, lightning, thunder. If anybody knows me, I don't do storms at all. I don't like them. So it hailed. The temperature dropped like 20 degrees. We all were drowned in rats and frozen for the day. Ugh.
Yeah. It was a freak storm for sure. It was a good time.
Yeah. Friday.
Well, we were,
blazing hot, sunburnt.
Yep.
My scalp still hurts.
Yeah. It was a good time, though. We got to meet a whole bunch of people and partake in a lot of fun events and after parties and all kinds of stuff. So it was a pretty awesome experience, I think. Lots of people, though. That was a bit overwhelming.
We met a lot of cool people, bunch of cool parties, and mingled and did all the things. It was cool.
Yep. And then you flew back to Arkansas.
And then I flew back to Arkansas in turbulence. And I don't like to fly.
Well, at least it wasn't hailing while you were flying.
Well, I mean, you're above the clouds. I don't know if that works. I don't know.
I mean, I still think it would be kind of sketchy.
Well, it is flying. I don't know.
I don't mind flying. I've always liked it.
I don't know. Anyway, if you've never been to West, you should probably go put that on your bucket list and go for sure. It's a very big event. You see people you already know, meet a lot of new people. It's a lot of networking. It was a lot.
Yeah.
It was busy. It was busy the whole time.
It was very busy.
Who this guy?
This guy is Jon Birkmire. He's from Florida. Yes.
Nice.
He's a Gators fan, so we're not going to talk about that.
We're talking about old shit.
We've right past
that. I mean, we haven't been very good lately, so there's not a ton to talk about. But I'm hopeful for a new season. I like our football coach, so I think it's going to be good. And I'm jealous that you guys y'all went to Expo West. That is like something I really want to do. My buddy Asia from Baptism Overland, he was out there and he was blowing up our little group chat that we have with like all the pictures and stuff. And I was like grinding away doing work, and y'all are out there having a blasty blast. So glad you had fun. And I don't like flying either, Arla. It is my least favorite thing. I'll do 200 miles an hour in a car, but I don't want to fly in a plane.
It saves time, and you don't have to burn as much vacation time as you're like going to these events. So that's why I fly. I mean, that was 17 hours. I didn't want to drive out there by myself.
No, yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
Even Mountain West is cool. If you haven't been to Mountain West, I've been to that one. It's pretty cool.
It's cool.
Pretty
Yep.
big. So,
We're thinking about
Add
going
it to the long list.
man, the cool rigs that are there, amazing.
Oh yeah.
The stuff you could buy, man.
We did good though. We did not buy anything crazy.
I didn't get crazy. I bought some Casey stuff, shirt and things like that, and a light and things like that, because they were really cool to us and let us hang at their booth all weekend.
Yep.
Treated us like family and all the things. And, so I tried to support a little bit there.
Yeah. And we did a live podcast from their booth on Sunday morning, which was pretty cool.
We did do a live podcast. That was crazy. And it was hot, baking on your sunburnt scalp already.
Yep.
Man.
It was a good experience. Yeah, I definitely recommend going if you get the opportunity, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not why we're here. Let's talk about Sunshine State Adventure Company and how you started that and what is it exactly?
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on your podcast. This is such a cool thing, and I love what y'all are doing with this podcast and just with elevating overlanding as an option for women, right? Like I think that life is far too short for us not to experience adventure, whether you're a man or a woman. And so the fact that y'all are helping women like see that this is something that they can do, whether they're a single mom with a back row full of kids, or they're married and they're getting their husband out there, or they're by themselves, or they got their girlfriends with them. I just think it's a really cool thing. So thanks for what you do, and thanks for having me on the podcast. So I'm Jon, and I started Sunshine State Adventure Company. Really not having any idea what I was doing or why I was starting it. But I knew I needed a name for a YouTube channel, because at the time my brother, Jeremy, shout out, made a terrible YouTube video from a trip that my dad and my brothers and I did together, based like just literally off of a bunch of like ripped iPhone video that, it's still on our YouTube channel. It's the first video we ever posted, and
I'm looking.
It's epically great and terrible all at the same time. So
I love it.
Oh yeah. And Sunshine State Adventure Company kind of started under this idea that and it really came from my experience in being in a lot of Facebook groups around overlanding, off-roading, outdoor camping, car camping, and just seeing so many people ask questions and not having their questions answered, or getting berated for just asking about like, hey, what's a great campsite in National Forest X? And people are like, just go drive around and find something, and I just didn't like that. And that's a whole long story, but I grew up doing that kind of stuff with my dad and my siblings and my mom, and decided to start. I didn't really know what I was starting, but to start a business to help people. This is our slogan: to adventure with confidence and coordinates. The idea being that like people are busy, right? Like nobody has time, or a lot of people don't have the time to sit on Google all day researching, campsites and trails. And, maybe you don't know anybody that is also into off-roading. And so, you want to load up the kids and take them into the woods, but you can't afford to get stuck by yourself in the middle of the forest. Maybe you don't have a winch yet, and you're not really sure where to go. And so I just saw a lot of people sitting on the sidelines. Say what?
I said, that sounds like my family when we started.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And so I saw a lot of people sitting on the sidelines thinking that they needed to build this X Overland style rig before they could go and experience adventure. And I love X Overland. I think they're the coolest,
I would like something like that.
Yeah, right. But like most people don't have the financial bandwidth or the time to do that. And so I just kind of started with this idea, like, what if I could help people experience adventure and do it in a way that like instills some confidence in them and they know where to go in the future, right? And so we started doing some guided trips and stuff like that. And then well before that and during that, I started developing the Florida Adventure Trail, which I know we'll talk a good bit about. But that's really what we're here to do, is I really feel like my role in all of this is to inspire people to get into the outdoors and to not wait until they have like the ultimate build or whatever, and just take what they have and like get outside and take their kids with them and put the tablets down and see something incredible, and so, yeah, that's kind of what we do. That's Sunshine State Adventure Co.
I love it.
Awesome.
When I heard about the FAT, I was super excited because I was in Florida at the time, up near Amelia Island, and I was communicating with Bill and Deb from Cottywample Overland, and they said, yeah, we're down here. We just got to Florida. I said, well, we're in Florida. And they said, well, come join us on the FAT. And I was like, what's the FAT? And then they told me, and I was like, okay, I like this. So we met him over near a little bit past Tallahassee.
Yep.
So they had already done the Panhandle portion when we met them. But and they had some interesting stuff happen, ironically, on Eglin with the
yes, they did
situation and random stuff. But it was a really good time. I grew up in Marion and Citrus counties.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, I when I was a kid, my dad would drive all these little dirt single tracks and back roads and all this stuff, but a lot of those are gone now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, this is awesome. I didn't even know about half of these trails or half of these areas that you can drive through.
Yeah.
And it was really neat. And it was nice because, Florida my whole life, pretty much, except for when I was active duty. And there was so many places that I got to see on that trail that I didn't know about.
Yeah.
But some of them were right in my backyard, like the Citrus WMA. I had never been there. So it was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the FAT, the Florida Adventure Trail, and how you came up with that idea to start that.
Yeah. Also, thanks to Cottywample for running the route. Like, that was such a cool thing. And Bill's I'm a huge Bill fan. Like, I watched it, when he and I first connected about the FAT, I was like, I've met Tom Brady. Okay. And I was like freaking out. I'm like, Bill messaged me on Facebook, such a nerd, and then I meet the guy and he's like the most down to earth, just cool dude ever, but yeah, so the Florida Adventure Trail really started in my head, like, I guess around 6 years ago, when I first kind of started learning about adventure trails. Mm-hmm. And that you could go online and that you could download a route that somebody had already pre-mapped out and follow it. And I was like, this is brilliant. Whoever came up with whoever did that, brilliant, And, I kind of first learned about like the Georgia Traverse and, I don't know if the CAT existed at that point, but, some like the Trans-American Trail, all the big name ones.
Yeah.
And then over time, I began to realize that every state in the South had at least one adventure route, adventure trail, a self-guided self-guided experience with, campsites marked and your route marked so that you can download it, put it on whatever app or GPS, thing that you use and go and have an epic adventure. And I had already, at the time, I can't remember the name of the app. It was kind of old school at the time because I'm not sure if Gaia was even an option then, but I don't remember what it was called, but it was awful. It did not work well, but I'd already started mapping a bunch of stuff on Eglin, which was where my wife and I were living up at the time up in Crestview. Mm-hmm. And then just growing up, my dad would load us up and we'd go bombing down dirt roads and riding dirt bikes all through Ocala National Forest and, canoeing and going to all the springs and just, my dad grew up really poor in Ohio. And so his dream was to move to Florida. And so when we moved to Florida, he's like, we're doing all the Florida stuff. So, he's like, we're doing all the things, and we did, and it was great. And so little by little, Motion X GPS, that's what it was called. Motion X.
I've even heard of that.
Yep. Yeah. Motion X. And so I started just mapping stuff and began to kind of realize like this is possibly doable, like building an adventure route through parts of Florida or some of Florida is possible. And And I just started just mapping stuff and doing a grid system. I'd like grid dirt road on Google Maps. I could see if it was dirt or not, and then I'd go and run it. And just little by little started piecing stuff together. And then I learned about a guy who has a YouTube channel called VMan1313. And he had been designing a bunch of routes through Georgia and Alabama. And I was like, well, what if I could connect a route into his routes and then make this big giant route that goes all through the Southeast, because the Southeast Adventure Trail exists, which is mainly like an adventure motorcycle route.
Right.
But they say, oh, we go through the states and into Florida. It's like they barely go into Florida. Like they just kind of dip into it and that's it. And so, yeah, for seriously about 4 years, I've worked really diligently to build what is now the Florida Adventure Trail, Florida's first and only self-guided adventure trail. It's a 1,200-mile route. There are both hard and like the main route you could do on an adventure bike, a Subaru Crosstrek, a stock Toyota Tacoma or Jeep or whatever. And then there's hard routes that are mapped all throughout that are clearly marked that are, some of them are pretty gnarly. And so, it's been a really cool thing. We have over 100 campsites that are marked throughout the route. So, and there's information on, how to book the site, what you need to know. There's a bunch of points of interest that we've marked, from really cool restaurants to historical stuff. I'm a huge Florida history nerd.
Yes.
And so marked a bunch of really cool stuff, and from beach camping to camping in the swamp to water crossings. It's a pretty cool thing. And so, yeah, that's the Florida Adventure Trail. And it really kind of started with people being like, you'll never be able to do that in Florida. Like there's not enough wild in Florida. And I'm like, I don't know where you've been in Florida other than Disney, bro, but there's plenty of wild in Florida. It is a little difficult just because there is so much public land stacked in between. Private land stacked in between public land. That was the hardest part, was like, okay, how do we do this? But we got it done, and we've had tons of people that have run it now. And so we have on my YouTube channel, we have a playlist called Friends on the F.A.T. And we have 77 videos now in the Friends on the F.A.T. Playlist. That's all made by other creators that we want to show off. And so every Monday in our Facebook group, we promote a video from another creator out on the F.A.T. It's a really cool thing. It's $20. So I do charge $20 for the route. 25% of that sale goes to the Wounded Warrior Project. We do a donation to them. And then the other 25% goes to maintain the campsites, the trail, all of that. So we have a group of people called the F.A.T Friends, and they're positioned all throughout the state. And so if we get a report, and you can go to our website and report trail conditions and campsite conditions. And so if somebody goes to a campsite and it's trashed, they can report that in our through our website. And then we've got a team of people that'll go out there and make sure that, it's cleaned up, taken care of, and preserved. So I really feel like it's a holistic approach. I just feel like if you're going to have an adventure route, you better have a plan to keep it open. So that's kind of how we're doing that. So that's the F.A.T.
We got a comment here.
Okay.
From Nori. I hope I'm saying that right. It says, great trail. Did it back in December. Nice to have something close to home. Thank you.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's really
Somebody
cool.
in Florida.
Look awesome. At that. Yeah.
And
yeah, I think for most Floridians, right, like we assume that to have a great adventure, we've got to drive to the mountains somewhere. And don't get me wrong, I love the mountains. But I think we can find adventure in our own backyard. And so the cool part about the F.A.T is that it allows us to do that here in Florida. And I think it's pretty cool. It's been a good thing. So it's also cool to hear people like Nora that had a great time on it so far. Right. We've gotten great feedback.
Yeah.
That's
One
awesome.
of the things I like the most about it is it takes you to what I still call old Florida. A lot of those, like Highway 98 coming through the Panhandle and down, that's one of my favorite parts of the state because it isn't all commercialized and crazy and ridiculous. And really good oysters there in that area. But
oh yeah.
but it was
You
fun.
can eat well on the fat.
Yeah.
Like, I like to camp. I like to cook at camp, but and listen, your boy can eat, okay? So I marked some of my favorite restaurants throughout the thing that are like, throughout the route. And there's some great places like to pull off. And, if you don't want to eat at camp or just have a quick lunch, like there's some cool spots.
Yeah.
Flounders in Pensacola is a must for me every single time. Usually twice, maybe 3 times.
Wow.
Not
that
even
is
10.
a spot over there. Yeah.
Dude, their seafood chowder.
That's your fave.
Oh. Yeah. I'm about to cry now.
Get it together, woman.
Okay.
So one of my favorite camping spots on the F.A.T is the one there at Shired Island.
Oh, yeah.
I love that. And I remember posting a picture of my rig at Shired Island in the Florida Camping and Off-Roading and Overlanding group, whatever it's called. And somebody was like, don't post that. We don't want people to know about that camping spot and whatever. And I'm like, listen, it's already on the F.A.T. Other people already know about it. Like, I'm not doing anything that's surprising anybody.
Yeah.
Dixie County came on there, their visitors bureau, and they said, thank you so much for the post. And can we share it? And so, I mean, I love that spot. That's so the only
it's a great spot.
Yeah. The only drawback is the sulfur smell from the water. But
don't plan to take a shower there. That's all I'm saying.
The bathrooms are decent, but because it's like well water, it's just got this really strong sulfur smell.
It's the worst. It is the worst sulfur smell that I've ever experienced. And I've experienced a fair amount of it, and it is the worst. Yeah. Shired Island is a really cool spot, and it's unique because it's not state maintained. It's maintained by the county.
Yeah.
And Dixie County is the poorest county in all of Florida. And so it's not exactly like a vacation destination. But Dixie has done,
they're trying.
They're trying to be. And I think the coolest thing for me has been their what's the word? Like vacation team, whatever you want to call it, their outdoor recreation team. They reached out to us and just said, hey, thanks for putting Shired Island on the F.A.T. Like when they first reached out, I was like, uh-oh, someone's going to get mad at me, but they said, we've seen an uptick in people coming and staying there. And, I had shared some feedback with them about the place being trashed the last time I was there. And they got a crew out there and got it pretty well cleaned up. And we're in the process of trying to work with them actually to get, we're going to start this thing called F.A.T Camp, where we get like once a quarter. You know what? Why not? Right. So do I. We're going to start doing this thing called F.A.T Camp, where we camp somewhere. We get all the F.A.T folks that want to hang out from our Facebook group and camp somewhere and then fix up the campsite and fix up the trails in that area. And so Shired Island is like the first one that we want to do. Which will be really cool. But yeah, Shired Island is definitely like a hidden gem that, again, I think we're going to have to work to protect and preserve, because, my whole thing on public land is like equal access equals equal responsibility. Right. And so, we want hunters and hikers and bird watchers and overlanders and adventure riders to all be able to use it, but we all equally need to share the responsibility of taking care of the area. You guys may have seen, I have a bunch of shirts that say public landowner on them and stickers and stuff. And I want people to own that idea, like that we're all public landowners. And because of that, we need to take care of it. So yeah, Shired Island's a cool story of a county getting on board with the overland lifestyle and seeing the value in it for their commerce in their community, because when an overland person or group of adventure riders come through an area, they're buying fuel, they're buying ice, maybe they're stopping at a restaurant, they're definitely paying $10 for that Shired Island spot, and that stimulates an economy. And so I think when states and local governments can recognize that this can be a positive thing for their communities, and we can do our best to preserve the land and not beat the crap out of it, because we're not mudders, we're overlanders, right? And so I think when they can catch that vision, I think it's a good thing. So that's part of what I'm working on, is trying to build relationships with these rural communities and townships, and like get them on board with what we're doing, and like, hey, how can we partner with you and invest in what you guys are doing? And so I'm hoping to help Dixie open 2 new campsites, like primitive campsites here in the next year or so. And then I hope that can be a sustainable model moving forward for other rural counties. Like, hey, let's open up a primitive campsite in your area. You have land that's just sitting vacant. Like, let's do something with it that can bring in some money for your town, So yeah, kind of a cool thing. Glad you like Shired.
Yeah, I do. And it's I like the old guy that pulls up in the morning with his shotgun across his lap saying,
listen,
where's my $10? I get a kick out of him.
The first time, he's a character, man. The first time I camped there was a couple years ago, and I wake up, and it's just me and a few other people there, and he pulls up and he goes, money, and I was like, and he has no uniform,
buying anything,
and I was like, no. And he was like, well, you camped here, didn't you? And I was like, well, yeah. I was under the impression at that time that it was free to camp there. He's like, you didn't see the sign when you came in? And I said, no, sir. And he goes, go look at that tree. And I go and I stand right in front of this oak tree, and I don't see a sign. And I look up like 40 feet in the air, and there's this sign that's like $10 to camp. I was like, oh my gosh. And luckily I had my checkbook, which I never have with me as a 32-year-old or whatever. Yeah, so I didn't have any cash or nothing, but now it's clear that you have to pay $10 cash when you camp there, But yeah, that guy's something else. It is a unique experience, I will say that. But it's so Florida and so worth staying at.
So totally Florida.
Yeah. Well, here's Bill.
Hey, Bill.
That's our favorite campsite on the whole F.A.T. Hey, Bill. Where's my girl at, Bill? She working?
She's probably working.
Dang it, Deb.
Thanks for hanging out, Bill.
Yeah. We got Salt and Sweet Tea Overland watching as well, and Tim Abner.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching, guys. Hello. Welcome to the show.
Got what's happening, y'all. We got a hi. And then they also said, for real, you should see our build.
I love it. I love it.
Bill. Hey there, she's at home. I'm working. Oh, you ain't working if you're on the podcast. That's okay. We take that.
That's
Great
awesome.
You may have to leave suddenly, because he's a flight medic.
Lifeline.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Life flight or whatever. Sorry, I don't know what to say.
You don't know what to
flies the plane.
The you should see our build comment I like, because again, I just think, listen, I think it's awesome. If you can afford to build a rig, build your rig. If you can afford to do all the stuff, do it. But I just listen, you should have seen some of the stuff we've off-roaded over the years and camped out of and done all kinds of stuff. My first overland build was a $3,000 Jeep Cherokee. And then shortly after that, I had a $800 Isuzu Trooper. And then I had $1,500. Yeah, it was that the Trooper was great. The only problem was that the automatic transmission in those 2000 and later was just utter garbage, and it went out on me real fast.
Wow.
And then I had a 2.5 gen Mitsubishi Montero with the blister fenders.
And you got all the stuff that people don't typically have.
I know. I never should have sold that thing. It's actually, I think it's in Costa Rica right now. The guy that I sold it to a dude in Costa Rica. The guy's driving all over the place. I will have another one day, because I never should have sold that thing. And then I have an Xterra now, but all of them are kind of the oddball, lesser known, but equally capable, rigs that are budget friendly. And I slept in the back of my Montero on multiple trips on a blow up, little Thermarest camping pad. Like
Yeah.
you don't need to have all this stuff. And
You know,
that's really, I think, what I want people to understand is like, just get out there and do it. Like nobody had any of this stuff. The West was settled by a bunch of people in a wooden wagon with,
A bunch of overlanders.
a bunch of the original,
the
OG,
original Overlanders.
right. Like, golly, just go do the thing, stop waiting to buy stuff and just go. That's my thing. So I love it. Yeah. Whatever your build is, just get out there and have an adventure,
Well, yeah, I mean, I started out in a 30-year-old Land Cruiser that had no modifications, whatever.
Yeah.
The headlights didn't even work. You can ask Bill.
It's true.
So we did the Kentucky Adventure Tour with him, and we had to stop at night because my headlights weren't working right.
That's hilarious.
But
I
had
love the cat.
The Walmart light blue water canisters and just plastic bins and whatever.
You got 4 of those things. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, whatever. That's all you need. Yeah.
Yeah. If we get
One
it like
piece
John
at a
and Cash.
time. I like it.
At a time. Well,
Love
whatever works for you.
Hello to Mountain Adventures.
I'm sure they can hear me on this, but Salt and Sweet Overland, shoot me a DM on Instagram. I want to send you some stuff.
Nice.
So find me, Sunshine State Adventure Co. on Instagram. Shoot me a DM. I'll send you some stuff.
Look at there. Mm-hmm.
There you go.
So one of my favorite stickers that you gave me, because we met at the Save Expo down
Yeah.
Stark, and one of my favorite ones that I have on my drawer system is Flatlandistan.
Yep.
With that.
I saw that on your drawer.
So I don't know how I don't know how I kind of come up with stuff like anyway, so it drives my wife nuts because I have dad jokes out the yin yang,
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah. Hit me up. And there was some guy and he was like talking smack about the F.A.T or whatever. And whatever, I don't care. Like you can say, I'm not a keyboard warrior, but he said like, Florida's boring. There's no good off-road trails or whatever. And I said, I kind of like overlanding Flatlandistan. And because they call us Flatlanders down here.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, LOL, Flatlandistan, that's funny. And I was like, hey, look at you, John, that is pretty funny. And
I did that.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, I got to turn that into a sticker. So I actually have a note on my phone that has like over 100 like t-shirt and sticker ideas. And I just like, they'll just pop it. So I'm ADD, X, Y, and Z. And so ideas like that pop in my head all the time. And so, yeah, the Overland Flatlandistan one is pretty popular. We've got another one that the Florida Man Overland, where the guy riding the alligator in the swamp. And so just, goofy stuff like that. So it's a fun thing. Actually, since we were joking about going out west, you remember the game Oregon Trail, like the computer game? I'm working on a sticker right now that has like the OG like 8-bit like horse and buggy that says OG Overlander on it that I want to like make into a sticker. Just dumb stuff like that. That if someone buys a few of them, it's great, So
those are great.
Yeah, it's a fun thing. We're and I'm always trying to think about like just goofy things to name stuff. So I don't know if I mentioned this to you at the Save Expo, but obviously the Florida Adventure Trail, as far south as it goes, is basically to the southern end of Green Swamp, which is like, longitudinally, I think that's a word, is like between Orlando and Tampa, basically. Okay. Yeah. Like as far down into the peninsula of Florida. And so I with the help of a couple other people, we're working on like an expansion pack. If you remember like Roller Coaster Tycoon back in the day, an expansion pack to the F.A.T. That's going to go to the Keys and back, which is going to add almost 3,000 miles worth of trail that you can go and experience. And so it's going to have more pavement than the Florida Adventure Trail. Like my goal with the F.A.T. was to be 60-40, 60% dirt, 40% paved.
Mhm.
And we hit that goal, which is excellent. The southern piece is, we're just not going to be able to do that. It's probably going to be in the other direction, like 40% dirt, 60% off road. Did I say that right?
No.
60% paved, 40% off road, but it's going to be epic. I mean, it is going to be so cool. I'm really excited about it. And we're calling it the S4E. So SO Southern.
So fat. That's awesome.
S4E, yeah.
I
So
love
just,
it.
I mean, can you just see a bunch of people rolling around with, like, honor badges that say S4E on them? Like, it's just going to be a good thing. So technically it's not right, but who really cares? It's Florida, right? So S4E. So we're excited about that. Yeah, I'm excited about that. It's going to be a really cool thing. And there's so many people in South Florida that, they don't realize that there's some really great roads and trails and stuff that they can experience, and great camping and all that type of stuff. So definitely excited about getting the S4E launched. We're still a little ways out on that, but we're excited about getting that to people. And I mean, you'll essentially be able to go, like, if you wanted to do the entire Florida Adventure Trail plus the S4E, it would be like a 2-week, like a 2-week trip to go all the way from Jacksonville all the way down to the Keys. So Florida Georgia line all the way down to the Keys, and then back up the peninsula all the way up the West Coast and the Panhandle, and then bump into Alabama. So it's been pretty cool.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. I know of quite a few dirt tracks down in southern Florida, so I can send you some of those files.
Yeah,
too.
send me whatever you have. Yeah. This is definitely a crowdsourced thing.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely a lot of places to camp for free throughout Florida. Well, a lot of the water management districts, we've done some videos on those. I mean, there's so many places. If you're willing to primitive camp, there's a lot of places to do it.
Yeah. Yep. There is. There's tons. And we hopefully we can keep it that way, keep those places open and well preserved.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. So have you ever gone down to the Everglades and gotten the permit to go off-roading there or out on those trails?
No, I haven't, but I'd like to do that this year. I've heard about it, and I've seen some videos and stuff, and talked to a guy who has done that. But no, I have not done that yet, but I would definitely like to. In fact, it's funny you mentioned that when we were doing Expedition Portal, the website Expedition Portal, and I mean, they're huge, magazine and all of that. They did a whole story on the F.A.T, which was really cool. And she asked the woman who wrote the article, she's like, have you been down into the Everglades? And I was like, no, I don't think you can do. I don't. And she's like, I think you can. And lo and behold, I looked it up, and I'm like, I'm doing that, So I'm excited to do that at some point. Have you done that before?
I haven't done the ones that require a permit, but there are quite a few dirt tracks that you can take off of Tamiami Trail.
I know about those. Yeah. The permit thing will be cool. I've got buddies that go down to hunt pythons down in the Everglades all the time, and they're always telling, "Oh yeah, we've got a big python problem in Florida. Well, South Florida, not up where I live, but down in South Florida, there's a big python problem, and you could it's like open season on them, and the state of Florida will give you $100, I think, roughly per python.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like snakes, but we're talking $100. I just go crazy.
Hey, $100 is $100, right?
Wow. Sorry, I didn't know that. That freaked me out.
Yeah. No. So we're excited about that.
Yeah. You mentioned before we went live, you mentioned that you are going on sabbatical next year and trying to make it out west. What's your big boy job that you normally do during the day?
Yeah. So I'm a pastor. That's my full-time job. I work for a non-denominational church in Gainesville called Anthem Church. I've been a pastor for, I guess, 8 years now. Before that, I worked in corporate restaurant franchising, and left the meat world to be a pastor, and so I get to do that, and then I do a bunch of other side hustle stuff, and I think. And I've shared this before that, in my job as a pastor, I sit across from people quite often who are hurting or hopeless or, just not having a good go of it, and I think so often we get out of the rhythms of like adventure, or just whatever that is. Like, not everybody wants to go into the outdoors, but like, I just think we were created for adventure, frankly. Whatever that adventure is, whatever you're into, whatever brings you joy in this life, I think you got to chase it down and have a regular rhythm for it. And so it is cool. There's a bunch of dudes at my church now who like all have Jeeps and off-road rigs and stuff. And they, all my buddies joke that I'm a very expensive friend, because whether it's race cars or off-road vehicles, they're all like, oh man, I'll invite anybody that wants to come along. And then next thing you know, they're hooked, and which has been cool. Like one of my best friends, his name's Kyle. He didn't grow up doing a ton of outdoor stuff. He's a computer programmer, like he does code stuff, and not necessarily like a dude that you would go, that's an outdoorsman, but he went on a couple trips with us and was hooked. And he and his wife sold their Mazda SUV, bought a TRD, 4Runner, and it's like what their family does together. Now they camp all over the place, and it's really cool. It's a neat thing to be able to introduce people, similar to what you all are doing through the podcast, is to introduce people to that. And again, I know I said this at the top, but like I just feel like my goal is to like inspire people to believe that life can be good, that life can be enjoyable and worth living, and that it doesn't have to always be hard, even though life is hard. And to help parents connect with their kids. I think that's one of the things that I see a lot is like, I don't know if parents always know how to connect with their kids these days, or like how to really make like memorable moments with them. One of my favorite stories to tell is I took a bunch of guys off-roading on just a day trip, and this guy brought his two sons with him, and they had their tablets, and their faces are like planted in them. And his son, who's like 4, we went through our first like kind of like mud hole little water crossing thing, and his kid, who's 4, goes, "Dad, I'm turning off my tablet. I don't need this thing today. We're having fun." And the dad's telling me this story with like tears in his eyes. He's like, I'm so glad that we're doing this. Like, I'm so glad that we're doing that. And so I just want to help people do more of that. Like one of the projects I'm working on now are these like travel guides. It's just like a PDF that you can download to help you plan a trip. I just released one for the Georgia Traverse. The Georgia Traverse is already mapped. I'm not remapping the Traverse or anything, but I'm releasing a travel guide so that like that dad who is a dentist and has like a full-time job can just go on our website, one-click download this file, and the trip's planned for him, where he's going to camp, roughly how long he should expect to be on that section of trail, points of interest along the way. So instead of spending God knows how long planning a trip, the trip's already planned, So I want to do more of that to be able to help people just let's take some of the complicated stuff out of it and just make this a little bit more accessible for people who maybe, like I said earlier, are sitting on the sidelines, So I think the F.A.T does that. I think some of these travel guide things that we're working on are doing that. Our Facebook group, we have a Facebook group that has grown like crazy, which is really cool. The Ford Adventure Trail Facebook group. And, it's cool to see people in there that are like, hey, we just bought our Subaru Outback and we've never done anything like this, but we just realized we need to get outside more, as a family or as a couple or whatever. And we heard about the F.A.T, and so we're excited, so it's just, I think that's a cool thing that I'm really excited about seeing continue to grow, and seeing like other channels even be willing to like partner up with us and say, hey, we just did this off-road trip. Let's work together and build a travel guide from the trip. You planned the trip. Let's build a travel guide so that like your fans can go and redo the trip that you just did, and we don't want to give away people's secret campsites, like on the travel guide, it's all like, people are like, you're going to give away our spots. I'm like, this is a state of Georgia campsite, bro. Like, simple Google search will get you there, sir. It's going to be fine.
It's not top secret.
Yeah. But just like, when you think about someone's first overland trip, like a travel guide is such a helpful thing to have a PDF that just has everything spelled out, for them. And so I'm excited to do more stuff like that. And again, being a pastor, I just see a lot of people that need adventure in their life. Doesn't matter what religion you are or whether you're not religious at all. I just think we're made for adventure, and the outside's good for us. And so the outside's good for our inside. So get out there and do more of what you love, That's how you think about that. You're like, what the heck?
Deep thoughts. Definitely deep thoughts.
Yeah. I tell you, it was a fun time on the F.A.T, and I had never camped in the Ocala National Forest at all until I went on the F.A.T. I camped in Osceola.
You guys camped at Hopkins, right?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, that was pretty.
Yeah, that's a great spot. Yeah, Ocala, Ocala is obviously a huge national forest, and need more adventure. I like that. Yes. Ocala National Forest is huge. I mean, we have two huge national forests here in Florida between Apalachicola, and obviously Ocala. And that Hopkins Prairie spot is a pretty well-known spot, but everybody knows that it's well-known and does a great job of keeping it clean and, playing nice and all of that. And Ocala's, as far as like my favorite campsites on the F.A.T, Hopkins Prairie is definitely up there. Obviously Shired Island that we talked about, I think, is a really great one. Hurricane Lake, you guys didn't stay at Hurricane Lake, but Hurricane Lake is up in but Bill stayed at Hurricane Lake up in Blackwater State Forest on the Florida-Alabama line. And man, is that a beautiful spot. And there's just I could talk all day about all the cool campsites on the F.A.T, but from like more established ones like Hurricane Lake to, did you guys stop at the bridge in No, you didn't get the chance to stop at the bridge in Osceola, but you can camp at there's like this abandoned burnout bridge in Osceola that you can probably only fit like 3 or 4 rigs at, camping wise. But if you've got 3 or 4 rigs or you're by yourself, that is a cool spot to camp. And people don't realize how little light pollution we have in Florida in some of those spots, so it's a cool spot. So you got to do Citrus and Croom and all of that, and then you guys worked your way around.
Yeah, I did, from, like I said, from around the Tallahassee area, just south of Tallahassee, down through Citrus, and then up to the Ocala National Forest.
Yep.
And then kind of ended right there because I had to go back and go to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, my husband finished it, the rest of this part that Patty Wample was doing at that point.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So after Ocala, you go up into Lockalusa and Micanopy. Micanopy's a really cool spot. Micanopy's the oldest inland town in Florida, and they're also believed to be the first town in Florida that was desegregated. Like way before desegregation, there were Native Americans and African Americans and white people all living together, and so it's just a really cool town that's been preserved really well. And there's cool little shops in there, and so you kind of bump in through Micanopy, and then you go up into Osceola, and then you bump into the Florida-Georgia line, and then our route connects directly into VMAN. I think I mentioned this earlier, into VMAN 1313's route, which is the Georgia Adventure Trail, which you've done before. Yeah. What did you think about the GAT? Did you enjoy that?
I liked it. It was very easy.
Oh yeah, it's
super easy. Yeah, very straightforward. It was nice, enjoyable, because I was traveling solo with my 2 daughters. And I was a little like, oh, should I do this by myself or not? But I mean, it was super easy to navigate, and no really crazy spots. A few nice little water crossings and stuff. But I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's a scenic, especially once you get up like north of Macon, Georgia. It really gets scenic, and you get up into the Oconee and all that, and there's some really cool stuff. And then the guy that designed that route, the Georgia Adventure Trail, also he designed the Bama Adventure Trail, the BAT. Which on the western side, our route connects into on the Florida-Alabama line. So technically, if you were crazy enough, and there was actually a guy recently, so we have a bounty out right now. I've gotten some sponsors on board that have said that the first person who does the Florida Adventure Trail, the Bama Adventure Trail, the Georgia Traverse, and the Georgia Adventure Trail all in one trip, they get all this stuff. So we've got like $400 gas gift card,
Nice.
stuff from Rhino USA, Last Fit, all these different companies have agreed to, give them stuff. And a dad and his son set out to do the whole thing. They were getting ready to come back down south and hit the Georgia Adventure Trail, and they thought they blew a head gasket on their Jeep.
Oh.
And it ended up just being a stuck thermostat. So the bounty's still on. They didn't finish the route, because it has to be all in one go, one contiguous trip, So the bounty's still out there if anybody wants to go tackle the thing. But I just think it's a cool. There you go. You never know. But I think it's a cool thing that we can connect those routes together. And I mean, the Georgia Traverse is obviously iconic. If you're in the Southeast, everybody knows about it. And my hope is that folks out west, like you mentioned earlier, I'm doing my sabbatical out west. Like out west is epic for sure, and I'm excited about doing that. But my hope is that more folks from out west will start coming to the East Coast and realizing that there's some really awesome sights to see and trails to experience from mild to wild, and to, come over. We go see you a lot and spend a lot of money out west. Come over here and hang out a little bit. You'll have a good time.
Yeah, and I think the Save Expo is going to help with bringing more people to Florida for that.
I agree.
This is doing a good thing there. And I really enjoyed myself there. It was a good time.
Yeah. Was that y'all's first time being at that?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was ours too. And I just felt like that whole team, they just did an awesome job. And other than the wind, which unfortunately they were not able to control,
Right.
it was an awesome event. And, that's how we got to meet you, which was such a cool thing. And, but yeah, the Save Expo was excellent. And we're excited to be there next year. We're definitely, and Guy, I don't know. Hello, Okie Overland. Welcome.
I don't know if
Thank
that's
you.
Kyle or Casey or God, it could be Tate for that matter. Who even knows? It's probably Kyle.
We're internet friends now, so you can't say you don't know me. That's how this
His
works,
name is
right?
John. Should have been on here. You know that.
Yes,
Guy.
Jon Birkmire or Bon Jerkmire, depending upon who you ask. So
Wow.
This is dad jokes.
Yep. Well, it's really just, I spent a lot of time with middle school and high school kids, and they're
Probably not
full of
Kyle.
all of that.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, the Save Expo is great, and I would definitely encourage anybody that's in the Southeast to, make it a plan to be there for that. Are you guys going to the the East Coast Overland Expo? Are y'all going to be at that in October?
Probably not, because
October's a little busy
we're going to be doing the Teton Overland show.
Oh, that'll be cool.
in September.
Beautiful.
At the Moore Expo, we did a ladies Overland lounge the whole weekend. And
that's awesome.
we'll be doing that at the Teton Overland
Cool.
show. I ran into Alyssa at the Moore Expo.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing that at the Save Expo this next year.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
That's awesome. Alyssa's great. I mean, she is just dynamite. She has a great team, but she plans and executes that thing, the Save Expo, on her own. She's unbelievable.
Her and her operations manager, aka her dad.
Yeah.
Her dad, yes. I know. I'm just like, I used to put on big car conventions, and so I like for race car stuff. I know how much work that is, So I just told Alyssa, I was like, "You're doing an excellent job. Just keep going. Yeah. Like the sky's really the limit." And I'm actually a driving instructor out at the place where the Save Expo is, the Florida International and Rally and Motorsports Park. So we do rally racing out there and track days and stuff, and we have off-road courses out there, so you can come out and you can learn about off-road recovery and obstacle course stuff. So you can go and do training out there, and it's a really cool spot, and it's also the home of the Save Expo, which is a really cool thing.
We need to talk offline, because I had already been thinking about doing like a ladies camping thing at Shired Island and doing part of the F.A.T.
Oh yeah.
I like to incorporate education with that. So if
you're
a director, that would be fantastic.
Yep. We can figure out how to make that happen. That'd be cool.
Yeah, awesome.
That'd be very cool. Yeah, we're gonna be we've kind of built this little team myself, Brad and his family, the Overlanderoos. I don't know if you're familiar with them on YouTube. Such a great channel. It's Brad, his wife, and his 2 daughters, and they go everywhere together. And I think it's just the coolest thing. Asia from Baptism Overland, he's always bringing his wife and son along. Danon from Adventure with Danon, and the Sunshine State Vikings. The 5 of us have just kind of all linked up over the past year, which has been a really cool thing. And so we're actually all going to go to the Overland Expo East together this year, which will be really cool, and be in a booth and hanging out and stuff like that. So we're excited about that. I've never been like an expo guy, really. I'm like, if I'm going to take time off work, I'm going to go, be by myself in the woods, but I had so much fun at the Save Expo that I'm like, okay, I guess I'll go to another expo. So we're excited about that. And Virginia is a beautiful place to visit. So can't go wrong with that. It'll be good.
The same thing seems to be happening to me. I've gone to a couple of expos now this year.
Yeah.
They're kind of fun, and I like seeing people that I haven't seen in a while. So
yeah. Yep. And again, I think it's a great way to meet people. So I've started doing, kind of trying to be as cool as you all, and do like a little mini podcast on our YouTube channel. We're calling it F.A.T Stories, and I'm interviewing, just keeping the fat thing rolling, just like
never gets old.
Yeah, it never gets old. It just, there's so much goodness there. But we're calling it F.A.T Stories, and so just interviewing folks who've run the F.A.T, and just hearing about the highlights, what they enjoyed, their favorite campsites, all that type of stuff. And so, and the most recent one that we did, I interviewed Brad from Overlanderoos, and the whole reason that we even connected was because he, Asia, and Danon all met each other at the last Save Expo, and became buddies, and then started, wheeling together. And, I feel like people don't really know how to make friends anymore. Like, I just feel like the internet has broken people. Yeah. And so, and I feel bad because people slide into my DMs on a regular basis, and they're like, hey, the next time you go on a trip, invite me. And that's like, and I feel bad because I'm like, if I were to do that, there'd be 100 people, like, we just can't do that. And so I always try to just encourage them and be like, make a post in our Facebook group, like be a planner, have a plan, and say, hey, listen, I'm doing a 3-day trip. This is the route we're going to run. I'm looking for 5 folks that want to join me that, that have rigs, and you'll make friends, and then you'll go on a trip, and you'll love it, and it'll be great. And you'll have lifetime overland friends, or maybe you won't, and they're all weirdos. And then you try it again, like
they're weirdos, but you'll still be friends with them.
I mean, I'm a weirdo, so, but yeah, I just think like there's something cool about that. So I think like expos are a great way to meet people. You're parked up next to somebody camping, and next thing you know, you're like, dang, we should do a trip together at some point. And same thing with the Facebook groups. I think while I do believe the internet has broken people, there's some good stuff there as well, for all of that. Fat Bottom Girls. I don't know if my wife will be thrilled about me rolling out anything with Fat Bottom Girls, but why not,
The Fat Girls Trip.
Fat Girls Trip. Do it. Why not?
That's supposed to be called Fat Girls Trip. That's funny.
That'll be hilarious.
Funny.
That is funny.
But yeah, the expo thing is cool. And I think it's a great way to meet people, and hopefully, forge some friendships that allow you to experience adventure with other people. I just took a group of guys to do what I call the Alabama Rubicon, which is 600-1, 600-2, and then this really awesome spot called Little River Canyon. Have you ever been up in that neck of the woods in Alabama?
I haven't camped in Alabama. My husband has.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, people are sleeping on Alabama. It is gorgeous. The Talladega National Forest, like Alabama is pretty flat, and then there's this crazy mountain range. And so I took a bunch of guys who had none of them, for the most part, had ever met each other, but I knew that they'd get along. And so I took them on like a 2-day trip, and now they've gone on like 6 trips together since then, and they're planning their own stuff and all of that, So I just think like, get in the woods with some people, you'll make friends, and it'll be a good thing. And then you have travel buddies, and that's a great thing.
Yeah. Well, I actually met another overlanding family at the Expo West, and we're actually camping with them tomorrow night. We Hearts Travel.
There you go.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
That's
Greg
awesome.
Pickens says Bankhead National Forest is a good hidden gem.
I've actually never heard of that one. I'll have to check that one out.
Right.
Noted.
Speaking of travels, John, what is your number one I want to go there place? Like, what's on your bucket list?
Oh man. I really want to do the Ozarks.
Yes.
That is, yeah, I'm like dying to do that. Really want to do that. I would really like to do our little group that I mentioned before. We have a 5-year goal to do the Alexander Mackenzie Trail. I think I'm going to have to sell an organ on the black market to make that happen, but we're going to do it. That's on my bucket list for sure. I've got some friends who own a company called Northeast Adventure Company up in Massachusetts, New Hampshire area. And their stuff's unbelievable up in Vermont and all of that. Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, all of that. There's some beautiful stuff up there. So, I'm only 32. So my goal is that by the time I kick the bucket, whenever that is, I want to have done some type of route in every state. That's my goal.
Nice.
So I think it's possible-ish, or at least off-road trail.
Time and money.
And hit a bunch of states. I'm just saying.
Time,
I know.
money.
I
Time,
know.
money.
Time and money. I know. Yeah. I also ride dual sports and adventure bikes, and so the TAT is definitely on the bucket list of things to do. Maybe one day the Pan American Trail would be pretty cool to do. I'd love to go to Australia and knock out some stuff there, but that stuff's all expensive. And so for me right now, we're just doing the East Coast stuff. And I mean, you could literally spend the rest of your life trying to hit and see all the stuff that America has to offer.
United States, man. Tons of stuff.
I know. And listen, I think international travel is a very cool thing, but I remember my dad joking growing up, someone would go to whatever country and he's like, bet they've never seen the Tetons, bet they've never seen the Grand Canyon. Like, why spend all this money to go see other countries when some of the most beautiful things you'll ever see in your entire life are right here in the United States?
Very true.
And so just trying to knock some of that stuff out. And so I'm excited for my wife and I to go out west. She's never been out west before, and I have a couple times. So that's going to be a really fun thing for us to do together. Yeah.
We've been overlanding the U.S. for the last 3.5 years, and there's still places that we haven't seen. We just found some new trails today out here that we're going to hit. I mean,
that's awesome.
There's so many places, and some of our favorite spots are actually out on BLM land and things like that.
Yep.
I mean, the national parks are beautiful. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, sure.
There's places that are equally, if not more beautiful, that are not a national park. It's so crazy that a lot of people haven't been there.
I know. Yeah. When a few years ago, I was speaking, I got paid to speak at a conference out in Utah, and it was like a free vacation for my wife and I. And I was looking at, it was in February. So it was cold and snowing and all that. And I was trying to find the cheapest rental car possible. I'm on Enterprise, and it's a Nissan Versa. And I'm like, we're for sure going to die in a snowdrift in this Nissan Versa, And so one of my buddies was like, have you heard of this app called Turo, Turo, not sponsored. And I was like, I have not. And so I hop on Turo. I rented a fully built Toyota Tacoma, on 35-inch tires, had a winch, rock sliders, everything, for $15 more a day than that stupid Nissan Versa.
Wow.
And I hopped on the Overland USA Facebook group, and I just made a post, and I said, hey, listen, I'm out here for a week. I have a day to do some off-road trails. If anybody is near where I'm at in Utah, I'd love to link up with someone just to show me some trails. This dude comes out of nowhere, comments on the thing. He's like, dude, I'm actually off that day. Let's go. And
That's
same
awesome.
thing. He took me out on some BLM land. I think it was 2 hours. We were in where does everybody go skiing in Utah? I forget the name of that place. Fancy place. Anyways, I forget the name of Park City. It was like a
Yes.
couple hours away from Park City's BLM land. And it was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my life. And it's just BLM land. Nobody's out there. And it was unbelievable. All in a rented Toyota Tacoma, it was pretty cool.
That's
Cleaned
pretty
it up, returned it, told the guy I was going to take it off road, and he's like, okay, that's what you got insurance for, wink,
got
wink.
the good
And
insurance,
yeah. So it was pretty cool. In fact, we were just in Colorado. We rented a Jeep through this company called Peak Overland and got to do some overlanding. And it was really cool. I'm actually making a video about it right now. That's like a year late. But so there's some cool stuff like that, even, like fly somewhere, find someone that will rent you, something with 4-wheel drive and go check some stuff out. There's a ton of ways to do this thing. And I think that's a cool thing.
Yeah. We haven't released our F.A.T video yet. And we did it back in February. So
I'm so behind on videos right now. Yeah. Oh man. The funniest thing is, when this whole thing first started, like, in fact, if you go back and you watch the original video that I shot announcing the Florida Adventure Trail release, like standing in my garage, the door open, I had like a brisket on the smoker, and I'm like, I don't want to be a YouTuber. I'm not trying to be a YouTuber. It's like had this whole shtick about not being a YouTuber, and I'm still not trying to be a YouTuber. Like, I feel like I make YouTube video, and there's nothing wrong with being a YouTube video, but like, I'm not trying to make like cinematic stuff. I'm just trying to piece something together that's decent enough that it's watchable, and that it inspires people to like get out and experience stuff. And but what's been kind of cool is like people like that, I guess, like the kind of no frills, just like idiot John with iMovie putting together these video clips, with like terrible transitions and bad lighting. And but it's been cool, like there's been a bunch of companies like Midland Radio actually that have reached out to us about YouTube videos and the Florida Adventure Trail, and just like, hey, we love the Florida Adventure Trail, what can we do to like support you? And so they, there's a bunch of companies like that, like Midland and Zero Breeze and all these different companies that have reached out to us and just said, hey, we want to give you discount. Oh, listen, if you live in Florida, you have to have it. You've got to have a Zero
You don't know the
Breeze.
backstory. You said the word.
She wants one so bad.
Oh, do you want one really bad?
Every time somebody mentions the word Zero Breeze, I just want to cry.
Listen, the first F.A.T trip that we did to like film the F.A.T, we did in July. And it was a sauna. It was a sauna. It was like, it was so humid. It was like breathing in jello,
Ew.
and I was literally, I woke up and in my dream, I was like holding my wife, and I wake up and it's my DeWalt fan that I was sleeping with, I was that miserable. And if you go watch those videos, I look so grumpy and angry. It's because because it was so gross.
Yeah.
And so, the Zero Breeze thing is so stinking cool, like to have air conditioning in your tent. You got to have it in Florida. I mean, you don't have to have it, but like to be able to camp year round now is so cool. So there's some cool companies like that, like Zero Breeze, that are like, dang, if people are going to run the F.A.T in the summer in Florida, or which, the summer is like basically year round here, they're going to need a little portable air conditioning unit that actually works, and so there's just some cool stuff like that I never in a million years would have ever thought that like Zero Breeze or Midland Radio would be like, hey, we want to work with you guys to like help people experience adventure, so that's a really cool thing that I never would have thought my stupid YouTube videos would ever be like, hey, we want to work with you. I'm like, really? Because I use iMovie, okay? Like, are you sure you want to do that?
No, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And they're good companies too,
cool
so that's even better, It's like,
I
like associating with companies that I know some things about and, are quality companies.
100%. Yeah, yeah. And again, it's, I just, and for me, I want to help. I'm not a review guy. Like I don't do gear reviews on my channel. Nothing wrong with that. But like one, I'm not going to promote a product that I haven't beaten the crap out of yet, or used or whatever. And then two, I want to promote. If I'm going to promote a product, I'm just going to use it, and then I'll say it worked or it didn't work.
It's so
I don't have
cool.
time. I don't have time to read technical sheets and all that kind of stuff. It either works or it doesn't, and we beat the snot out of stuff. And so, if you see my Xterra, you can see we bounce stuff off of rocks and trees. And, the thing I love about like my Xterra is it's an overland rig, but I'll take it to an off-road park and bounce it off of whatever. Like, I'm not worried about it. And so we torture test stuff, we torture test the winches we use, and, everything gets, and I'm also very clumsy. So I tend to break things pretty easily. And so, does he? Is he the same way? Yeah, I bought like a nicer camping chair for our last camp trip that wasn't like an Amazon like thing, and I immediately broke it. Like, we showed it to the campsite, and I broke the thing, and it's just, and so I was like, well, I'm not going to blast this company, but I wouldn't buy that chair again because if it can't handle my idiocracy, it's not worth buying, So,
and you have to think about a lot of people that use this gear, they're only using it on the weekends once in a while and stuff.
Absolutely.
So some things are that it'll just fine that way.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Nearly every day.
Oh yeah. You bet.
For example, I went up to Thunderbox, their booth at Expo West, and I told them, I said, 5 people using your Thunderbox consistently almost every day for 3 years, and it's still going strong. And they're like, really?
Right. Yep.
Oh.
Which is crazy, like that type of abuse. I mean, it speaks volumes, And so I think, and then I think, like, when we can talk about companies that don't suck, it helps people who work hard for their money not spend their money on something that they're going to be disappointed in, So, I don't try to do like the infomercial stuff or whatever, but if I use something and it works, I'm going to be like, good to go, whether I'm not getting paid to say any of that stuff. I'm just like, it works. You should buy this thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with the Baofeng, knockoff, Amazon radios. And I've used the Baofeng radio for forever, but I always have issues with it. And I always sound like I'm 7 miles away, And so then I got a Midland radio, and I was like, a whole new world, And people can actually hear me. And when I'm the one leading trips, 99.9% of the time, it's helpful that people can actually hear what I'm saying, and they're not driving off. You said left, and they drive off into the middle of nowhere, and so it's cool. And again, that's the cool part about expos, right? Is you can actually see the gear and put hands on with it and check stuff out.
Absolutely. So how can everybody find you on social media? What are all of your handles and all of your things?
It's all Sunshine State Adventure Company. I think I have some like hyphen thingies in there. I don't know. I think if you just put in Sunshine State Adventure Company, you should be able to find us. My personal account is Busy Living. You can follow me. I mostly post pictures of my dogs, race car stuff, off-road stuff, and I post dumb videos sometimes that go viral. So if you want to see some dumb videos that go viral every once in a while, it's a good hang. So that's on Instagram, and YouTube is Sunshine State Adventure Company. And then our Facebook group, if you want to join our Facebook group, it's the Florida Adventure Trail F.A.T. It's pretty easy to find. I think we've built a cool community that is free of like for sale posts and all that kind of stuff. And we talk about all different types of things, and hopefully it's all helpful. And I try to give a lot of stuff away, and if I can. And people give me a hard time. They're like, stop making. You're never going to make any money if you're always doing discount codes all the time. And I'm like, I just want it out of my house, So like, all of our t-shirts and stickers and everything's like 20% off right now, which is like break even for me. So I'm just like, get this out of my house so I can make new dumb stickers, So, I'm just like, okay, we've sold enough of these just free at this point, basically. So Sunshine State Adventure Co., Busy Living, the Facebook group, and hit me up if I can ever help you plan a trip or do whatever. YouTube, Sunshine State Adventure Co. as well. And my final word is I just hope that people get out into the outdoors. Life is far too short not to experience adventure. I lost my dad in December. Literally the hardest thing that I've been through in my life. My mom has cancer as well and just had a bone marrow transplant, and she's doing really well. Good. And so, the difference between those two things of like my dad dying unexpectedly from cancer and my mom like having this year-long progression to get healthy, one of the first things my mom wants to do is go camping at Hopkins Prairie once she's allowed to be outside again, And so, I have realized that life can, kick you in the face and that life can be short. And so get out and adventure. There's adventure in your backyard. Whether you're a man, you're a woman watching this, whatever your deal is, just get outside. Life's too short. Get busy living. And I think you'll be glad you did.
Couldn't said it better myself. Thanks, Jon.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone, for watching tonight. We appreciate it. And we'll see you next week. Have a great night.
See you guys.